Mike Lefko filling in for Stacey Ross to Michael Bumpus with my guy. And before the break, we talked about OTAs, voluntary workouts. You know, back in high school, they're not really voluntary. Your coach says, look, this is our schedule. These are voluntary workouts. I'm doing air quotes right now.
Right.
We knew if you did not show up for these voluntary workouts, you were not going to see that football field. And then you get to college. You get to college, it's the same thing. Voluntary summer workouts. Now, unless you were a guy who lived down south or the East Coast or something like that, then maybe you get a pass for missing some of these voluntary workouts. But you knew that it directly affected the chemistry, the camaraderie of your team. And if you were not established in that program, who knows where you were going to end up on the depth chart. So now we fast forward to the professionals, the guys making the money. This is no longer do it for pride, do it for your school. Yeah, you're doing it for pride, but you're getting paid to do a job. Now, in our morning show, we got Mike Salk and Brock Huber. They had a very passionate conversation about Jamal and his non-attendance to the OTAs, and I decided, Lefko, we will react to it. So cut number 11, this is Brock Huber.
We were there when Richard and Doug got in a brawl at OTAs, right? We've been there when the Seahawks have been fined and lost draft picks because they're too competitive at practice. I was there in Indy. I was there in Seattle. I've been everywhere I've been. It's the same thing, man. You want your guys to be there. You want them to compete, and you certainly need your highest paid players to be a part of that. They're the front runners of it. And in this case, everyone else is. Like on this team, DK is there with Gino. They're there. And Tyler, they're there working. So I just can't grasp being in Florida 3,000 miles away, posting your Instagram videos of you on the treadmill. Like, come on, bro. Go be with your team.
Now, my man Brock, I don't think I hear Brock get that worked up very often. And I think he's worked up for a good reason. He's saying, look, man, I remember the days when the Seahawks were getting fined because they were too competitive. I remember the days where everyone was out there grinding and working. And I don't disagree with Brock. I think that is very beneficial to a football team to have all of your guys there, especially the guys who are getting paid the big bucks to be there. But I also realize that the NFL is different now. It's 2023. I think Brock's talking about like 2012 or 2013 or something like that. Even when I was playing practices, minicamp, we were padded up. No pass this weekend, Lefko.
Yeah.
It's shirts and helmets. I remember us laying dudes out at times during practice. Ain't nobody touching nobody. So now let me fast forward and talk about Jamal Adams specifically. The reason why I don't have a problem with him being at the OTAs is because if you are getting paid as much money as he's getting paid, and you know that you're going to be on this football team if and when healthy, if you feel like the guys, your team in Florida, will rehab you and get you back as fast as possible, then you go ahead and you do that. But what you have to do is when you come back, you got to be healthy, you got to be engaged, you got to be ready to go. You're not going to be standing on the sideline with a towel on your neck and a bucket hat on. Like, you are locked in and ready to go. So the only reason why I don't have a problem with Jamal not being at OTAs is because he has his team. He trusts the people that he's training with down in Florida to make sure that he's all good and ready to go. And it sounds like Pete is backing him up publicly, even if he's not privately.
I know Brock has some trouble with technology, just based on the ads we hear, right? Now, he has that one about the TikToking. But it's also a different era where just because you're not there doesn't mean you're not in touch with these guys.
Right.
And I think, the showing face was a big issue there. That's a lot different. You can achieve a lot of face-to-face communication even without being in the same room. So if that's the concern, that he's not there with his team going through it, meeting these young guys, mentoring the young guys, well, we don't know if Jamal Adams isn't texting them constantly. The group chats that everyone has now, FaceTiming all these guys, they do so much over Zoom still. I mean, we heard John Schneider this entire offseason talk about how they still use Zoom to do all these draft profiles. Now they do these interviews over Zoom where before you'd have to call a guy, you have to go there in person. So even though Jamal Adams isn't there, I don't think he's incommunicado. I don't think he's off the grid. You can't reach him. If he is getting in touch with his team, if he's talking back and forth with these guys, I'm fine with that. And you said it. It's a new era. It's OTAs. In a long grind of a season where you play 17 regular season games now. And oh, by the way, the Seahawks bye comes really early. So you're going to play, 12 straight weeks of the season to end the year? Why do we want these guys here in May? We're talking about May. To go all Allen Iverson here. It's not even practice. We're talking about May. This is OTAs. We're talking about May. I get maybe it doesn't look good, but yeah, he's two factors here. He's coming off an injury, so is he going to be fully effective just standing around? And he is a veteran. So veterans should be able to kind of build up that goodwill, take some more care of their bodies. We know Dwayne Brown would always just kind of show up, and he knew what he had to do to get ready because his body took some punishment. I mean, that's a guy who had been through the ringer. You don't want him there going through all this work in early OTAs. You want him fresh for the start of the season. Same thing with Jamal Adams.